In the quiet corridors of Windsor Castle on Christmas morning 2023, Prince William carefully wrapped a gift that had taken him months to plan. He had no idea that within minutes of presenting it to Catherine, his thoughtful gesture would trigger a global phenomenon that would crash websites, empty store shelves across 3 continents, and create a waiting list of over 50,000 people. The Kate effect was about to strike again, but this time, it would reach heights no one had ever imagined. What started as an intimate moment between husband and wife would become the most talked about Christmas gift in royal history, leaving even seasoned palace staff speechless at the chaos that followed. This is the true story of how one simple present changed everything. Prince William stood in his private study at Kensington Palace, staring at his laptop screen with the intensity of a man planning a military operation. It was October 15, 2023, and Christmas was still months away, but William had learned from years of marriage to Catherine that the best gifts required careful thought and meticulous planning. The autumn rain drummed against the tall windows as he scrolled through countless websites, his brow furrowed in concentration. Catherine had always been impossible to buy for, not because she was demanding, but because she seemed to have everything she could possibly need. As the Princess of Wales, she had access to the finest designers, the most exclusive boutiques, and pieces that most people could only dream of owning. Yet William knew that what truly made Catherine happy were the thoughtful, personal touches that showed he understood who she was beneath the royal title. He remembered their early dating days when he would surprise her with small, meaningful gifts. A book by her favorite author, wildflowers picked from the grounds of St. Andrews, a playlist of songs that reminded him of their time together. Those simple gestures had meant more to Catherine than any expensive jewelry could. Now, as parents to George, Charlotte, and Louis, and, with their royal duties consuming so much of their time, William wanted to recapture that intimate connection. His assistant, Simon, knocked on the door and entered with the day's briefing papers. William quickly minimized his browser window, not wanting anyone to know what he was planning. The palace staff were incredibly discreet, but William had learned that even the smallest hint about royal gift-giving could somehow find its way to the press. The last thing he wanted was for Catherine to read about her Christmas present in the Daily Mail before she actually received it. "Sir, you have the Environmental Summit preparation meeting in 20 minutes, Simon reminded him, noticing the slightly guilty expression on William's face. After years of working for the prince, Simon had become adept at reading his moods and knew when William was up to something. "Thank you, Simon. I'll be right there," William replied, his mind still half-focused on his gift search. As Simon left, William returned to his laptop, this time opening an incognito browser window. He had read somewhere that this prevented websites from tracking your searches, though he wasn't entirely sure how it worked. Catherine's interests were varied and sophisticated. She loved photography, often taking candid shots of their children that captured moments no professional photographer could. She enjoyed cooking, surprising many people who assumed she had never set foot in a kitchen. Catherine also had a passion for textiles and craftsmanship, often spending her free time learning about traditional British manufacturing techniques. She supported local artisans and was genuinely interested in the stories behind the pieces she wore or used. William thought about the pearl earrings he had given her for their first wedding anniversary, carefully chosen because they reminded him of the pearl necklace his mother had worn. Catherine had cried when she opened the box, understanding immediately the connection to Diana. But, this Christmas, William wanted something different, something that celebrated Catherine's own interests rather than connecting to the past. He found himself on a website for a small British company that specialized in handcrafted leather goods. The business was run by a family in the Cotswolds, just a few hours from London. They made everything by hand, using traditional techniques that had been passed down through generations. The leather was sourced from British farms, and each piece was unique, bearing the subtle marks and variations that came from genuine craftsmanship. As William browsed through their collection, one item caught his attention, a camera bag designed specifically for professional photographers. It was elegant and practical, made from beautiful tan leather that would age gracefully over time. The bag had multiple compartments for different lenses and equipment, but it was designed to look more like a stylish handbag than obvious camera gear. It was exactly the kind of thing Catherine would love but would never buy for herself. The more William read about the company, the more perfect it seemed. The family business had been struggling during the pandemic, like so many small enterprises across Britain. By choosing to support them, William would be making exactly the kind of statement Catherine always encouraged him to make about supporting local businesses and traditional craftsmanship. He called the company directly, speaking to the owner, Margaret Thompson, who had started the business with her husband 30 years earlier. William didn't identify himself, simply saying he was interested in commissioning a custom piece. Margaret's enthusiasm was infectious as she described their process, how they selected each piece of leather, how long it took to cut and stitch each bag by hand. "We only make about 3 or 4 bags a month," Margaret explained. "My husband does all the cutting, and I do the stitching. Our son helps with the finishing touches. It's slow work, but we believe in doing it right." William found himself genuinely interested in the process, asking detailed questions about the leather treatment and the stitching techniques. Margaret seemed delighted to share her knowledge, and William could hear the pride in her voice as she talked about their work. This was exactly what Catherine would appreciate: the human story behind the object, the connection to real people and traditional skills. "Would it be possible to have something ready by Christmas?" William asked, realizing that 2 months was not very much time for custom work. "Oh my," Margaret said, and William could hear her flipping through what sounded like a calendar. "Christmas is our busy season, and we already have quite a few orders. But if you're flexible about the exact design, we might be able to manage something special." William arranged to visit the workshop the following week, telling Margaret he would bring photographs of the person the bag was intended for, along with examples of the kind of photography equipment that would need to fit inside. He was careful not to reveal any identifying information, but he was excited about seeing the workshop and meeting the craftspeople who would create Catherine's gift. The drive to the Cotswolds the following Tuesday was exactly what William needed. He had been feeling overwhelmed by his royal duties lately, the constant pressure to be on in public, the endless stream of meetings and appearances. Taking his own car, without security, and driving through the English countryside felt like a small taste of the normal life he sometimes craved. The Thompson workshop was located in a converted barn on the edge of a small village. The building was surrounded by rolling hills and stone walls, the kind of quintessentially English landscape that Catherine loved to photograph. William could already imagine her excitement when she learned that her gift came from this beautiful place. Margaret Thompson turned out to be a woman in her 60s with silver hair and hands that showed decades of working with leather. Her husband, David, was a quiet man with careful eyes and an impressive mustache. Their son, James, was about William's age and served as the business's connection to the modern world, managing their website and social media presence. The workshop smelled of leather and beeswax, tools hanging neatly on pegboards that looked like they had been in place for decades. David showed William how he selected each piece of leather, examining it for thickness and grain quality. He pointed out subtle differences that William would never have noticed, explaining how the position of the hide affected the durability and appearance of the finished product. "This piece here," David said, running his hands over a section of tan leather, "this came from a farm about 20 miles from here. The farmer treats his cattle well, feeds them properly. You can see it in the quality of the hide." Margaret demonstrated her stitching technique, each stitch placed with precision and care. She used techniques that were centuries old, methods that created seams that would last for decades with proper care. As she worked, she told William about learning these skills from her own mother, who had worked for a luxury goods company in London before the war. "People today, they want everything fast and cheap," Margaret said, her needles moving in a steady rhythm. "But some things shouldn't be rushed. A good bag should last a lifetime, maybe longer. It should get better with age, develop character." James showed William examples of their custom work, bags they had created for photographers, travelers, and collectors around the world. Each piece was slightly different, reflecting the specific needs and preferences of its owner. William was particularly drawn to a camera bag they had made for a nature photographer, with special compartments designed to protect delicate equipment while remaining easily accessible. "We could adapt this design," James suggested, studying the photographs William had brought of Catherine using her camera. "Maybe add a few more interior pockets, adjust the strap length. Your wife seems to prefer a crossbody style based on these photos." William found himself spending nearly 3 hours at the workshop, far longer than he had planned. The Thompson family was fascinating, their passion for their craft evident in every detail of their work. They shared stories of famous clients, challenging commissions, and the evolution of their business over the decades. William felt completely relaxed, enjoying the simple pleasure of learning about something entirely outside his usual world. When it came time to discuss the commission, William was careful about payment arrangements. He couldn't use his personal credit card without risking exposure, and a palace account would certainly raise questions. Finally, he arranged to pay cash, promising to return the following week with the full amount. "This is going to be something very special," Margaret assured him as he prepared to leave. "I can already picture it finished. Your wife is going to love it." As William drove back to London, he felt the satisfaction that comes from a task well begun. The gift was perfect, exactly the kind of thoughtful, personal present that Catherine would treasure. It supported a British business, celebrated traditional craftsmanship, and would be genuinely useful for one of Catherine's favorite hobbies. He had no idea that within weeks of giving Catherine this carefully chosen gift, the Thompson family workshop would be overwhelmed with orders, their simple website would crash repeatedly, and they would need to hire additional staff to handle the unprecedented demand. The quiet little business that had operated in peaceful anonymity for 3 decades was about to be thrust into the international spotlight in a way they could never have imagined. For now, though, William simply enjoyed the secret pleasure of knowing he had found the perfect gift. Christmas was still 2 months away, but he was already looking forward to Catherine's reaction when she opened the carefully wrapped box on Christmas morning. The weeks leading up to Christmas were a carefully orchestrated dance of secrecy and anticipation. William found himself becoming an expert at covert operations, checking his phone for updates from the Thompson workshop while sitting through endless meetings about environmental initiatives and royal tours. Every few days, James Thompson would send carefully worded text messages about the progress of the special commission, using language that could have referred to any number of innocent projects. Catherine, meanwhile, remained blissfully unaware of the intricate planning happening around her. She was deep into her own Christmas preparations, working with palace staff to coordinate the family's holiday schedule, selecting gifts for George, Charlotte, and Louis, and preparing for the traditional Christmas gathering at Sandringham. Her days were filled with school plays, charity events, and the endless small details that made the royal family's Christmas celebrations both magical and smoothly executed. William's second visit to the Cotswolds workshop came on a grey November morning when Catherine believed he was attending a meeting about sustainable agriculture. The lie made him slightly uncomfortable, but he reasoned that the surprise would be worth the small deception. This time, he brought his personal protection officer, but asked him to wait in the car at a discreet distance, claiming he needed to inspect a potential venue for a future event. The workshop had transformed in the weeks since his first visit. What had been a rough outline of leather pieces during his previous trip was now taking the shape of an elegant, sophisticated bag. Margaret Thompson met him at the door with barely contained excitement, leading him to a workbench where the bag sat in various stages of completion. "We've been working on this every day," she said, running her hands lovingly over the leather. "David's never been more particular about getting every detail perfect." The bag was extraordinary. The tan leather had been treated to a rich, warm color that seemed to glow in the workshop's natural light. Every seam was perfectly aligned, every stitch uniform and precise. The hardware was solid brass that would develop a beautiful patina over time. William could see Catherine carrying this bag, how perfectly it would complement her style while serving the practical purpose of protecting her photography equipment. David demonstrated the bag's features with the pride of a master craftsman. The main compartment was lined with soft padding to protect camera bodies and lenses. Smaller pockets were perfectly sized for memory cards, batteries, and other accessories. An exterior pocket was designed to hold a phone or notebook for quick access. Every detail had been considered, from the placement of the zippers to the length of the adjustable strap. "The leather will age beautifully," David explained, showing William a sample piece that had been treated with wear simulation. "In 5 years, 10 years, it will look even better than it does now. The scratches and marks will tell the story of all the places it's been." James had prepared a small portfolio of photographs showing the bag from every angle, documentation that would help William remember all its features when he presented it to Catherine. He had also included information about the care and maintenance of the leather, written in elegant script on handmade paper. My grandmother always said that a gift should come with instructions for love, Margaret mentioned as she wrapped the documentation. Not just how to use it, but how to care for it so it lasts. As William examined the bag, he found himself thinking about all the places it would travel with Catherine. Royal tours to far-flung corners of the Commonwealth, family holidays in Scotland, casual days in London when she wanted to capture candid moments with the children. The bag would become part of Catherine's story, a companion on adventures both royal and personal. The conversation turned to the final details. Margaret suggested including a small leather tag with Catherine's initials, discreetly placed inside one of the pockets. William loved the idea but realized he couldn't risk having CPW or any variation that might identify Catherine if the tag were seen by others. Finally, he settled on simply C, elegant and mysterious. "We'll have it finished by December 15th, James promised. That gives you plenty of time before Christmas, and us a little buffer in case any final adjustments are needed." William arranged for the final payment and pickup, insisting on paying cash to maintain the secrecy of the transaction. The Thompson family was curious about the elaborate precautions but respected their client's privacy. They had crafted items for wealthy and famous customers before, though they had no idea just how famous their current client actually was. Back at Kensington Palace, William's challenge became finding a secure hiding place for the gift once it was delivered. His study was too obvious, and Catherine occasionally used his office space when working on her own projects. The bedroom was completely out of the question. Finally, he decided to store the gift at his private office at Clarence House, in a locked cabinet that Catherine never had reason to access. The secrecy created some amusing moments. William found himself becoming unusually interested in Catherine's photography equipment, asking casual questions about her camera preferences and lens choices. Catherine, naturally, was delighted by his sudden interest in her hobby and began enthusiastically explaining the technical aspects of photography that she had never shared before. "I've been thinking about getting a new camera bag," Catherine mentioned one evening as they reviewed photographs from a recent family outing. "This one is falling apart, and it doesn't really protect the equipment very well." William's heart jumped, but he managed to respond casually. "Really? What kind of bag are you looking for?" Catherine went on to describe, in perfect detail, exactly the kind of bag that was currently being finished in a workshop in the Cotswolds. She wanted something practical but elegant, something that would age well and could transition from formal events to casual family outings. William found himself nodding enthusiastically, perhaps too enthusiastically, because Catherine gave him a curious look. "You're being very supportive about camera bags," she observed with amusement. "Should I be suspicious?" "I just think your photography is wonderful," William replied, which was completely true even if it wasn't the whole truth. "You should have equipment that reflects how seriously you take it." The conversation was interrupted by Louis running into the room with a scraped knee from playing in the garden, and the moment passed without further interrogation. But William made a mental note to be more subtle in his interest going forward. December arrived with its usual rush of Christmas preparations. The palace staff decorated the staterooms with magnificent Christmas trees, garlands, and thousands of twinkling lights. The children's excitement was building daily, their anticipation infectious even among the adults who had experienced decades of royal Christmases. William's final visit to collect the bag was scheduled for December 16th, just over a week before Christmas. This time, he told Catherine he was attending a private meeting with conservation groups, a believable excuse given his well-known environmental interests. The truth was partially correct, he was meeting with people who cared deeply about preserving traditional British craftsmanship. The finished bag exceeded even his high expectations. The Thompson family had outdone themselves, creating something that was both functional and beautiful, practical and elegant. The leather had been buffed to a perfect finish, the stitching was impeccable, and every detail spoke of careful craftsmanship and genuine pride in the work. "This is the finest piece we've ever created," David said simply, and William could hear the satisfaction in his voice. "Whoever receives this is very fortunate." Margaret had prepared the bag for gifting with the same attention to detail she had applied to its creation. It was wrapped in tissue paper and housed in a beautiful wooden box that David had crafted specifically for this purpose. The care instructions were placed in an envelope sealed with wax, old-fashioned touches that added to the sense of ceremony around the gift. If there are ever any issues, any repairs needed, she should bring it back to us, Margaret insisted. A bag like this should be maintained properly. We want to see it again in 20 years, beautifully aged and full of memories. James walked William to his car, carrying the wooden box with careful reverence. I hope she loves it, he said. We put everything we know into this piece. As William drove back to London with Catherine's gift secured in his car, he felt the deep satisfaction of a mission accomplished. The bag was perfect, exactly what Catherine would love. The Thompson family had poured their hearts into the creation, and their craftsmanship was evident in every detail. He had no way of knowing that within minutes of Catherine opening this gift on Christmas morning, the Thompson family's peaceful world would be turned completely upside down. Their small workshop that had operated in quiet anonymity for decades was about to become the center of a global phenomenon that would challenge everything they thought they knew about their business. But, for now, William simply enjoyed the anticipation of Christmas morning and the pleasure of knowing he had chosen the perfect gift for the woman he loved. The carefully wrapped box sat safely in his locked office, waiting for the moment when months of secret planning would finally be revealed. Christmas morning at Windsor Castle dawned crisp and bright, with frost covering the manicured grounds like a delicate lace tablecloth. Catherine woke before dawn, as she always did on Christmas morning, filled with the same excitement she had felt as a child. After 15 years together and 3 children, William still marveled at how Catherine's enthusiasm for holidays and celebrations never dimmed. She approached each Christmas as if it were the first and most wonderful one ever. The children were already awake, of course. George, at 10 years old, was trying to maintain the dignity befitting a future king while clearly bursting with excitement about the presents waiting downstairs. Charlotte, 8, had been up since 5 o'clock, carefully reviewing the family's gift-opening protocol that she had memorized from previous years. Louis, 5, was simply vibrating with anticipation, having spent the last week asking approximately every 10 minutes whether it was Christmas yet. The royal family had their own cherished Christmas traditions that blended formal protocol with genuine family warmth. Gifts were opened in the family's private sitting room rather than the grand staterooms, creating an intimate atmosphere despite the grandeur of their surroundings. Everyone gathered in comfortable clothes, the kind of casual elegance that Catherine had mastered over her years in the royal family. King Charles and Queen Camilla joined them for the gift exchange, along with other family members who were staying at Windsor for the holidays. The room was filled with the warm glow of the Christmas tree lights and the excited chatter of children who had been remarkably patient about waiting for the designated gift opening time. William had strategically placed Catherine's gift under the tree several days earlier, disguised among the numerous other presents. The beautiful wooden box that housed the camera bag looked appropriately mysterious and elegant, giving no hint of its contents. He had attached a simple card that read, "For all the memories we've made and all the ones still to come. Love, W." The gift exchange followed a loose protocol based on age and excitement level. Louis went first, as the youngest family member, tearing through colorful wrapping paper with the enthusiasm that only a 5-year-old can muster. His delighted squeals over a new set of toy airplanes filled the room with laughter. Charlotte opened her gifts with characteristic precision, carefully preserving the wrapping paper and ribbons as she had seen her grandmother do. George, maturing into his role as the eldest child, showed genuine interest in each person's gifts, asking thoughtful questions and expressing appropriate appreciation. His own gifts reflected his growing interests in sports and history, including a signed football from his favorite team and a fascinating book about British aviation history. When it came time for the adults to exchange gifts, William felt his heart rate increase slightly. He had been anticipating this moment for months, and, now that it was here, he found himself hoping desperately that Catherine would love what he had chosen. The gift represented so much more than just a camera bag. It was his understanding of who she was, what she valued, and how he saw her beyond her royal role. "This one looks intriguing," Catherine said, lifting the wooden box that contained her gift. The box itself was beautiful, clearly handcrafted with the same attention to detail that had gone into the bag inside. She examined it carefully, appreciating the smooth finish and elegant proportions before opening it. When Catherine lifted the lid and saw the leather camera bag nestled in tissue paper, her immediate reaction was a soft gasp of surprise. She could see instantly that this was something special, something that had been made with extraordinary care and skill. The rich tan leather seemed to glow in the Christmas morning light, and the craftsmanship was evident in every perfectly aligned seam. "William," she breathed, lifting the bag carefully from its box. "This is absolutely beautiful." As she examined the bag more closely, Catherine's photographer's eye immediately recognized how perfectly it had been designed for her needs. The size was ideal, large enough to hold her professional equipment but not so bulky as to be cumbersome during long events. The leather was the perfect weight, substantial enough to provide protection but supple enough to be comfortable to carry. "Look at these compartments," Catherine said, exploring the bag's interior with growing excitement. "Everything has its own place. And the padding is exactly right for protecting the lenses." William watched with deep satisfaction as Catherine discovered each thoughtful detail. The adjustable strap that could be positioned for maximum comfort, the exterior pockets placed exactly where they would be most useful, the beautiful brass hardware that would develop character over time. Every feature was exactly what a serious photographer would want, but designed with an elegance that complemented Catherine's personal style. "Where on earth did you find this?" Catherine asked, clearly recognizing that this was not something mass-produced but a genuine work of craftsmanship. "It's extraordinary." William explained about the Thompson workshop in the Cotswolds, describing the family business and their dedication to traditional leather working techniques. As he told the story of his visits to the workshop and his meetings with Margaret, David, and James, Catherine's eyes sparkled with the kind of joy that came from understanding the thought and care behind the gift. "You commissioned this specifically for me?" Catherine asked, running her hands over the smooth leather. "They made this just for my equipment, my preferences?" "Margaret and David wanted to create something perfect for you," William replied. "They put their hearts into every stitch." Catherine was quiet for a moment, clearly moved by the realization that strangers had spent weeks creating something beautiful specifically for her. This was exactly the kind of gift that touched her most deeply, something that connected her to real people and traditional crafts, something that celebrated her own interests and passions rather than her royal status. "I love it," she said simply, but William could see in her expression that she truly meant it. "It's absolutely perfect." What happened next would later be dissected by media analysts and social media experts around the world, but, in the moment, it felt completely natural and spontaneous. Catherine, excited about her new bag and wanting to share her joy, took a photograph of it using her phone and posted it to the official Kensington Palace social media accounts. The image was artfully composed, showing the camera bag in flattering natural light with a simple caption, "Grateful for thoughtful gifts that celebrate the things I love. This beautiful handcrafted camera bag will be perfect for capturing precious family moments. Wishing everyone a wonderful Christmas morning." Catherine included a few hashtags that seemed appropriate, #ChristmasGifts, #handcraftedwithlove, #traditional craftsmanship, #supportlocal. She was particularly careful to emphasize the handcrafted nature of the gift, wanting to highlight the skill and dedication of the artisans who had created it. The post went live at 10:47 a.m. on Christmas morning. Within the first 5 minutes, it had received over 1,000 likes and dozens of comments from royal watchers around the world who were spending their Christmas morning following the family's social media updates. The initial comments were the usual mixture of Christmas well wishes and compliments on the beautiful bag. But something unusual began happening around the 15-minute mark. The comments started including questions about where the bag could be purchased. People wanted to know who had made it, whether similar bags were available, and how they could contact the craftspeople responsible. The interest was polite but persistent, and it was growing rapidly. Within 30 minutes, the post had been shared hundreds of times. Fashion bloggers began analyzing the bag's design, praising its elegant simplicity and obvious quality. Photography enthusiasts discussed its practical features, noting how perfectly it seemed designed for professional equipment. The combination of royal endorsement, obvious quality, and Christmas morning sentiment created a perfect storm of social media interest. Back at Windsor Castle, the family was settling into their traditional Christmas morning routine, completely unaware of the digital phenomenon beginning to unfold. The children were playing with their new toys, King Charles was reading excerpts from interesting books he had received, and Catherine was already planning how she would organize her camera equipment in her beautiful new bag. "I can't wait to take this on our next official tour," Catherine told William as they watched the children play. "It's going to be so wonderful having everything properly organized and protected." William smiled, pleased beyond measure that his months of careful planning had resulted in such obvious happiness. The gift had been perfect in ways he had hoped for and some he hadn't even considered. The connection to British craftsmanship aligned perfectly with Catherine's values, the practical design would enhance her photography hobby, and the beautiful appearance would complement her public image. Neither of them checked their phones for several hours, both being present in the moment and enjoying the family celebration. They had no idea that by noon on Christmas Day, Catherine's innocent post about her new camera bag had been liked over 50,000 times, shared by major fashion and photography accounts, and was beginning to trend on multiple social media platforms. The Thompson family, meanwhile, was enjoying their own quiet Christmas morning in the Cotswolds, completely oblivious to the fact that their small workshop was about to be thrust into the international spotlight. Margaret was preparing Christmas dinner, David was reading a book about traditional woodworking techniques, and James was playing with his young children. None of them checked social media that morning. They had no idea that their carefully crafted camera bag was being admired, analyzed, and coveted by people around the world. The peaceful anonymity that had protected their small business for 30 years was about to end in the most spectacular way possible. As Christmas morning progressed toward afternoon at Windsor Castle, the royal family remained blissfully unaware that the Kate effect was building momentum in ways that would challenge everything they thought they understood about the power of royal influence in the digital age. By 2 o'clock on Christmas afternoon, something unprecedented was happening in the digital world. Catherine's innocent Instagram post about her handcrafted camera bag had gone far beyond the usual royal social media engagement. The image had been shared over 10,000 times, liked by more than 200,000 people, and was attracting attention from major media outlets around the globe. Fashion Week insiders in Paris and Milan were forwarding the image to their contacts, praising the bag's timeless elegance. Photography professionals were discussing its practical design features on specialized forums. Luxury goods enthusiasts were analyzing every visible detail, trying to identify the maker and materials. The Christmas timing had created a perfect storm of social media activity, as people around the world were online, relaxed, and in a shopping mindset. The first breakthrough came from a sharp-eyed royal watcher named Emma Patterson, a fashion blogger from Manchester who specialized in tracking down the exact items worn and used by members of the royal family. Emma had built a following of over 100,000 people by being remarkably good at identifying everything from Catherine's earrings to her children's school uniforms. Emma spent Christmas afternoon methodically examining every detail visible in Catherine's photograph. The distinctive brass hardware, the particular shade of tan leather, and the unique stitching pattern around the edges all provided clues. She cross-referenced these details with dozens of British leather goods manufacturers, searching for any company that produced bags with these specific characteristics. At 3:47 p.m. on Christmas Day, Emma posted her findings. "Found it. Catherine's gorgeous camera bag is from Thompson & Company, a family workshop in the Cotswolds. Check out their website, they make the most beautiful handcrafted leather goods using traditional techniques passed down through generations." Emma's detective work was immediately picked up by other royal watchers and fashion bloggers. Within minutes, the Thompson & Company website address was being shared across multiple platforms. The small, simple website that James had created for his family's business suddenly found itself receiving visitors at a rate it was never designed to handle. James Thompson was just finishing Christmas dinner with his family when his phone started buzzing with notification alerts. At first, he ignored them, assuming they were the usual Christmas messages from friends and family. But the alerts kept coming, one after another, until finally, his curiosity got the better of him. When James opened his phone and checked his business email, he found over 500 new messages, all from people asking about camera bags like the one Catherine had posted. His website analytics showed visitor numbers that seemed impossible. Thousands of people were trying to access their simple site simultaneously. "Mom, Dad," James called to his parents, who were enjoying a quiet moment by the fireplace. "I think something's happening with our business. Something big." Margaret and David exchanged confused looks as James showed them his phone screen. The website traffic numbers were climbing by the minute, and the email inquiries were pouring in faster than he could read them. People from around the world were asking about commissioning similar bags, wanting to know about shipping to the United States, Australia, Japan, and dozens of other countries. "This doesn't make sense," David said, studying the screen with bewilderment. "We've never had this kind of interest before." James quickly searched social media for their business name and immediately found Emma Patterson's post, which led him to Catherine's original Instagram image. The connection hit him like a thunderbolt. The mysterious customer who had commissioned the special camera bag, the one who had insisted on cash payment and unusual privacy measures, had been Prince William. "Oh my goodness," Margaret whispered as James showed them Catherine's post. "That beautiful bag we made, that's for the Princess of Wales. We made a camera bag for Catherine." The reality of the situation began to sink in as they watched the social media numbers continue to climb. Catherine's post now had over 300,000 likes and was being discussed on major news websites. Fashion magazines were already publishing articles about the Kate effect and its impact on small British businesses. Back at Windsor Castle, William and Catherine remained blissfully unaware of the digital storm swirling around the camera bag. They had spent the afternoon enjoying family time, playing games with the children, and taking part in traditional Christmas activities. It wasn't until early evening, when they finally checked their phones, that they realized something extraordinary was happening. "William," Catherine said, staring at her phone with amazement, "my post about the camera bag has nearly 500,000 likes. That's more engagement than we usually get on major announcement posts." William looked over her shoulder at the screen, watching the numbers continue to climb in real time. The comments section was filled with people praising the bag's design, asking where they could buy one, and sharing stories about their own appreciation for traditional craftsmanship. "Look at this," Catherine said, scrolling through the comments. "People are saying the most wonderful things about supporting small businesses and traditional skills. This is exactly the kind of response we hope for when we highlight British craftsmanship." But, as they continued reading, it became clear that the response was far bigger than either of them had anticipated. Major fashion websites had published articles about the bag within hours of Catherine's post. International media outlets were running stories about the Kate effect and its impact on the Thompson family business. William felt a mixture of pride and concern. He was delighted that his gift choice was being so well received and that the Thompson family was benefiting from the attention. But he also realized that the peaceful anonymity he had promised to protect was about to become impossible to maintain. "We should call them," Catherine said, recognizing the potential impact on the small family business. "They're going to need help managing all this attention." Meanwhile, at the Thompson workshop, the family was experiencing their own mixture of excitement and anxiety. Their simple website had crashed twice from the volume of traffic, and James was working frantically to get it back online. The email inquiries were coming in faster than they could read them, let alone respond to them. "We've got messages from people in 30 different countries," James reported, scrolling through the overwhelming inbox. "Everyone wants to order bags like Catherine's." Margaret was reading through some of the emails, marveling at the international interest in their small family business. People were sharing personal stories about why they wanted to support traditional British craftsmanship, discussing their own passion for photography, and expressing genuine appreciation for the quality and care that went into handmade goods. "This woman from Canada says she's been looking for the perfect camera bag for 10 years, Margaret read aloud. "She wants to fly to England to visit our workshop in person." David was quiet, processing the magnitude of what was happening. Their peaceful life, their predictable routine, their small circle of regular customers, all of it was about to change dramatically. The order backlog that had previously stretched a few weeks into the future would now extend for months, possibly years. "How are we going to handle all of this?" David wondered aloud. "We can't possibly make enough bags to satisfy this kind of demand." James was already thinking through the logistics. They would need to hire additional craftspeople, expand their workshop space, and completely revamp their business systems. The website would need professional upgrading to handle international traffic and orders. They would need help with customer service, shipping logistics, and quality control. By evening on Christmas Day, the Thompson family had received over 2,000 email inquiries and their waiting list had grown to more than 5,000 people. The simple contact form on their website had been overwhelmed, and James was working on implementing a more sophisticated system to manage the unprecedented demand. The story was being picked up by international news outlets, with reporters calling to request interviews about the overnight success of the small Cotswolds workshop. Television producers were interested in filming segments about traditional craftsmanship and the power of royal influence in the digital age. "We need help," Margaret admitted as the family sat together that evening, trying to process the day's events. "This is wonderful, but it's also completely overwhelming." James had been researching similar situations online, trying to find examples of small businesses that had successfully managed sudden viral success. The stories were mixed. Some companies had thrived and grown into major enterprises, while others had struggled to maintain quality and eventually collapsed under the pressure of unexpected demand. "We have to stay true to what we do," David said firmly. "No matter how many orders we get, we can't compromise on quality. That's what made this special in the first place." As Christmas Day ended, the Thompson family knew their lives had changed forever. The peaceful workshop that had operated in quiet anonymity for 30 years was now the center of international attention. The Kate effect had struck with unprecedented force, creating opportunities and challenges they could never have imagined. Back at Windsor Castle, William and Catherine were beginning to understand the magnitude of what had been unleashed by a simple Christmas morning social media post. The gift that William had chosen so carefully for its personal meaning and connection to British craftsmanship had become a global phenomenon that would test everything the Thompson family thought they knew about their business and their lives. The week between Christmas and New Year became a whirlwind of activity that neither the royal family nor the Thompson family could have anticipated. What had started as a simple Christmas gift exchange had evolved into an international business phenomenon that challenged everyone involved to respond with grace, wisdom, and careful planning. William called the Thompson workshop on December 27, 2 days after Catherine's social media post had transformed their quiet family business into a global sensation. James Thompson answered the phone, his voice showing the strain of 48 hours spent trying to manage unprecedented demand while maintaining some semblance of normal family life. "James, this is William," the prince said, immediately identifying himself without ceremony. "I believe I owe you and your family an apology, and possibly some assistance." The conversation that followed was unlike anything James had ever experienced. Here was the future King of England, calling personally to check on their small workshop and offering support in managing the chaos that his gift choice had inadvertently created. William's concern was genuine and immediate. He understood that the Thompson family was facing challenges they had never encountered before. "We're grateful for the attention," James assured him, "but we're also completely overwhelmed. We've received over 10,000 inquiries in 2 days. Our website keeps crashing, and we have no idea how to manage international shipping for this volume of orders." William listened carefully as James described their situation. The family was committed to maintaining their standards of craftsmanship, which meant they couldn't simply mass-produce bags to meet demand. But they also recognized this as an extraordinary opportunity to grow their business and reach customers around the world who genuinely appreciated traditional skills. "What kind of support would be most helpful?" William asked, already thinking through the resources available through various royal charitable initiatives that supported British small businesses. Catherine joined the conversation, speaking with James about the overwhelming response to her social media post. She was fascinated by the stories people were sharing about why they wanted to support traditional craftsmanship, and she was committed to ensuring that the Thompson family could benefit from this attention without being destroyed by it. "We want to help you manage this in a way that preserves everything that makes your work special," Catherine explained. "The last thing we want is for this attention to compromise the quality and care that made the bag so remarkable in the first place." The conversation led to a plan that would transform the Thompson business while respecting its core values. Through connections with business development organizations supported by the Prince's Trust, the family would receive expert guidance on scaling their operations, managing international commerce, and implementing quality control systems that could handle increased production. Professional web developers would rebuild their online presence to handle global traffic and orders.
Logistics specialists would help them establish reliable international shipping.
Most importantly, master craftspeople from other traditional workshops would be brought in to train additional artisans in the Thompson techniques, ensuring that quality would not suffer as production increased.
We don't want to become a factory, Margaret emphasized during a follow-up conversation.
Each bag still needs to be made with care and attention.
We want to grow, but we want to grow the right way.
The royal family's support extended beyond practical assistance. William and Catherine used their platform to educate people about the time and skill required for traditional leather craftsmanship, helping to set appropriate expectations for delivery times and production capacity. They shared the Thompson family's story in a way that honored their dedication while managing public expectations.
True craftsmanship cannot be rushed, Catherine explained in a follow-up social media post.
The beautiful bags created by the Thompson family represent skills passed down through generations, techniques that require time and patience to execute properly. We encourage everyone to appreciate the process as much as the finished product. This educational approach helped create a more informed and patient customer base. People began to understand that ordering a handcrafted Thompson bag meant joining a waiting list that might extend for months, but they were increasingly willing to wait for something genuinely special. The international media attention brought unexpected benefits beyond just orders. Traditional craft organizations from around the world reached out to establish connections with the Thompson workshop.
Museums expressed interest in documenting their techniques.
Educational institutions wanted to develop apprenticeship programs based on the Thompson family's approach to skill transmission. We're becoming part of something bigger than we ever imagined, David reflected as he watched his workshop transform. New artisans were learning alongside him, young people excited about mastering traditional skills that they had never known existed. The quiet workshop was becoming a center of learning and innovation within traditional frameworks. By March 2024, 3 months after Catherine's Christmas morning post, the Thompson business had grown from a 3-person family operation to a workshop employing 15 skilled craftspeople. They had established relationships with leather suppliers across Britain, created an apprenticeship program for young artisans, and developed a reputation that extended far beyond camera bags to include briefcases, travel goods, and bespoke commissions. The waiting list for Thompson bags had stabilized at approximately 18 months, with customers around the world willing to wait for the privilege of owning something made with such care and skill. The family had learned to manage their growth carefully, never accepting more orders than they could fulfill with their established quality standards. Catherine continued to use her camera bag on royal tours and family occasions, each appearance generating renewed interest in traditional British craftsmanship. The bag aged beautifully, developing the rich patina that David had promised, becoming more beautiful with each month of use. It's become part of my story, Catherine reflected during a conversation with William about the ongoing impact of his Christmas gift.
Every time I use it, I think about Margaret and David and their dedication to their craft. It connects me to something real and meaningful.
The Thompson family's success became a case study in how traditional businesses could leverage unexpected attention to achieve sustainable growth while maintaining their core values.
Business schools analyzed their approach to scaling artisanal production. Craft organizations worldwide studied their apprenticeship model.
James Thompson was invited to speak at conferences about traditional skills and modern commerce. Margaret's stitching techniques were documented by craft historians. David began teaching master classes for leather workers from around the world who traveled to the Cotswolds to learn from him directly. The best part, Margaret said during one of these teaching sessions, is seeing young people get excited about skills that we thought might be disappearing.
This attention has given traditional craftsmanship a new generation of practitioners.
The collaboration between the royal family and the Thompson workshop continued long after the initial Christmas gift exchange. William and Catherine became regular customers, commissioning pieces for gifts and official use. The relationships formed during those chaotic weeks after Christmas evolved into genuine friendships based on shared values about quality, tradition, and supporting British craftsmanship. 1 year after that Christmas morning's social media post, Catherine received a special anniversary gift from the Thompson family, a small leather photo album, handcrafted with the same attention to detail as her famous camera bag. The album was designed to hold photographs taken with equipment carried in that bag, creating a complete circle of craftsmanship and memory. To Catherine, the inscription read, "Who changed our lives by sharing your joy in our work." May this album hold memories of all the wonderful places your camera bag travels with you. As Catherine filled the album with photographs from royal tours, family holidays, and quiet moments at home, she reflected on how William's thoughtful Christmas gift had created something much larger than either of them had imagined. A simple gesture of love had connected their family to skilled artisans, supported traditional British crafts, and demonstrated the positive power that public platform could have when used thoughtfully. The Thompson Workshop continued to thrive, balancing tradition with innovation, local roots with global reach. Their story became inspiration for other traditional craftspeople around Britain, showing that ancient skills could find new relevance in the modern world. William's Christmas gift to Catherine had indeed vanished in minutes, transformed from a private gesture into a public phenomenon. But what emerged from that transformation was something beautiful and lasting: a thriving business, preserved traditions, new opportunities for young artisans, and a deeper understanding of how authentic craftsmanship could resonate with people around the world. The camera bag itself continued to serve its original purpose, protecting Catherine's photography equipment and accompanying her on countless adventures. But it had also become a symbol of the unexpected ways that thoughtful gifts can ripple outward, creating positive change far beyond their original intention. In the quiet moments when Catherine used the bag to organize her camera equipment, she was reminded not just of William's love and attention, but of Margaret's skilled hand stitching every seam, David's careful selection of the perfect leather, and James's dedication to sharing his family's story with the world. The bag carried not just photography equipment, but the love and skill of everyone who had contributed to its creation and the opportunities that had grown from its unexpected fame.